All right, I had a song I had planned to release today called And Then Wonder, and I have pulled that song down for now. Let me tell you the story. So I recorded an album a couple years ago using studio musicians, studio drummer, and bass player. Had it mixed and mastered by the studio. I did all the guitar recording and the vocal recording, but of course they processed it all and mixed it all and mastered it all and did all their studio magic to create an album that I'm still pretty proud of. The year I started working on music again, I didn't even imagine that I could have a full album done at that quality level. So I'm stoked about that. However, reality sets in. I have more kids now. Economics are tighter, and I have less free time. And now I'm trying to figure out how do I continue making music and producing it and releasing it at the same or greater quality level than that album that I have done. Several problems there, of course. One being that I don't have a studio drummer, can't afford to pay a studio drummer. My thought is to overcome this, I just need to get better at drums. So I've been putting in a lot of time the last couple of years working on drums. My skill level has gone from like here to here. If I was amateur before, I'm a better amateur than I used to be. On top of that, I have to learn mixing to a greater degree. My skills have increased tremendously. I'm trying to teach myself mastering as well. YouTube is great for this. I've taken some courses on some of these. I have a degree in music technology, so I have a base level understanding of a lot of these things, and I've really worked to dial a lot of these things in. So I'm feeling fairly confident about my ability to create music. I had a friend come and help me do a drum track session where I played the drums, recorded everything for a couple of tunes. One was the And Then Wonder tune that is supposed to be released today, actually, which I am taking that tune down off of Spotify and DistroKid, and I'm not releasing it today as I had planned. Last minute decision. If you really wanted to find it, you could probably go find it and see what I'm talking about here. But let me back up a little bit. I got to a point in this process where I was mixing And Then Wonder, and it was kind of a rough mix at this point, but I was feeling stuck. I'm just like, I'm not quite sure how to get it sounding better. And I'm feeling like maybe I just release it as it is. I need to be releasing things. I need to be letting stuff hit the market, as a motivation for myself, to have a deadline, to be actually working towards something, and just to have, just to be completing things. That's such a powerful thing in moving to the next thing, is to actually complete something. If everything is always unfinished because it's never good enough, which it never is, then you get trapped in that, and I don't want to get trapped in that. So I want to keep working on new things to keep things exciting. However, I got stuck because I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I knew I liked it, but I just really needed someone to tell me the truth about it. So I sent it to my friend, who's been a friend for a long time, and he's one of those I love you enough to tell you the truth kind of guys, which is awesome. Thank you, sir. And I sent him the mix and just, what do you think? And after a long pause, I do get a message back from him, and he says, all right, here's what I hear, man. Especially your drumming. He's like, I hear what you're doing, I hear what you want to do, and even though you're doing all the same stuff as, some professional drummers, it just doesn't sound the same. Your tones sound off. I don't know. It just feels different. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't sound professional. So that being challenging as it was the truth that I was looking for, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I've really developed my skills a lot more than than they used to be, and I'm feeling pretty good about them. Let me just see if I can take a deep dive. He mentioned, maybe rhythms on some parts that aren't dialed in right, and some of the sounds, like the tones of the toms and the snare, etc. So I thought, well, what can I do? And I did a bunch of research and discovered flex time, to be able to actually quantize my drums. So I'm like, oh, that's great. I can take my imperfect playing and at least get it in time really good, to help, sync solid feel to it. And, I can do drum replacement with samples or drum doubling, to make the snare sound better, and really spent a lot of time working to try and get it all dialed in. And I got to a point where I was pretty happy with it. It sounded a lot better than it did. So I finish out the track, I mix and master it, and I upload it DistroKid, a month ago, so that it has time to try and go to playlists and things like that. So all this has been set in stone for a while, and I've been working on my next tune, I Need to Know. This is one that I tracked the drums at the same time, so I did the whole setup and tracked two drums in one session, or tracked drums for 2 songs in one session. And then, and so I'm working on this tune, and first thing I do then is like, well, I know the drums on this are going to need help too, so I went through and I cleaned it up the best I could, flex time, getting it quantized, and getting, drum replacement where necessary, trying to find a good snare sample to like really enhance the snare, and getting again to the point where I've got a good rough mix. And I have a friend of mine, who is a different friend, but also a very skilled musician. I've heard some of his recording projects. He's a drummer himself, and so we were chatting, and I just said, hey, would you mind taking a listen to this and just give me some of your feedback real time, first impressions sort of stuff. So yeah, sure, I can do that. So he sits down with me, he listens through very carefully, and I kid you not, kind of first thing out of his mouth is like, it sounds like you learned how to do a bunch of fancy techniques without really learning how to do 2 and 4. And I was like, oh yeah, gut punch. So he basically said the same thing. It's like something's off about the feel, it just doesn't feel like drums. So I learned a lot since then about the point of drums. The 3 things that I really learned, my 3 takeaways. One is that playing a straighter beat gives the song a better feel. All of the syncopation that I do in the guitars now sounds groovier because it has something to anchor it. The 2 and the 4 anchors it, so you can actually appreciate what the syncopation is doing. So that the 2 and 4 anchors it, so the syncopation really feels groovy. Prime example of that, and the band that did it probably the best, is AC/DC. Almost always, AC/DC just has straight 2 and 4, but all of the syncopation, like something about that, it just feels really cool. That was the first thing I learned. Second thing I learned by playing a simpler beat, the song has way more energy. A drummer brings the energy. So I never wanted my songs to be, soft per se. Like I want high energy, but I've been trying to achieve that high energy by playing all the notes. But really, all the notes come from the guitar, in a sense, the way I'm doing it. And the solid drums bring a better energy and feel. Like, I need to approach my drums less intellectually and more as a feel player. Gotta lock into that 2 and 4. The third thing that happened, trying to play the beat more solid and on the beat and focusing more on the groove and the rhythm, was that my fills that instinctively now incorporated some of the techniques that I've been working on came effortlessly with a much greater groove, right? Like, so it wasn't like I had to choose to put those away. It's just when that, instead of trying to focus on being fancy all the time, just my fills, I feel like, are fairly sophisticated for where I'm at in my playing. And they sound so much better when all I do is change my focus to, I have to be the metronome, the groove maker on this tune. Man, so I'm excited to rework the drums and re-record these, and I feel like it's going to change kind of how I approach mixing it too. Again, I didn't have a grand vision for what I wanted my music to sound like when I started. I just said, here are the skills I have, here is what I naturally like working towards, and I'm just following that journey. This is a journey that you're on with me, I'm on it. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to create. I don't have a grand vision per se. I'm just playing what I like, working on what I like, and putting that together and saying, this is my gift back to God or the universe or whatever you call it. I call it God. You know, it's like, these are the gifts you've given me. My gift back is to just develop everything the best I can and use what I create any way you like. Don't use it, I don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care, but like, my focus isn't trying to create something that everybody loves. I just want to create something that I love. And of course, part of that problem is that I love things that I've created because I've created them, and they are better than I thought I could do. But then again, you put them up against people in the industry, and they're like, well, they don't match the scruples. So I do want to get to the point where I can release it to the world and not have people dismiss it because of lack of quality, right? So that's part of the journey, is like, how do I get that quality? And learning in this section, at this point in my life, what I am learning is how more to be a drummer. Something that I have not been, and I've been working towards it, but my mind has been opened to a new aspect of drumming. So on the second song, when I realized that I need to redo the drums, I went back to look at And Then Wonder, and I'm like, yeah, I should redo the drums on this as well. I could just let it go and say the next one, but you know what? I would rather release it as best as I can and give it the attention it deserves, instead of having it out there and always be like, that's that one that I don't really like, and not want to promote it. I want to be proud of it when it goes out. So sorry if you're expecting to watch that video today. You know, I'm sure nobody had their heart set on it necessarily, but that's why it's not there, and that's why the delay. I am redoing it. I have not done it yet, but I've done some scratch drumming, and I like the idea of bringing it solid. So thank you to my friends who were bold enough to speak the truth and tell me their honest opinion, tell me what I actually needed to hear. And that's an admonition to anybody out there who is learning any instrument or any form. You know, have other people listen to it and give you their honest critiques, and be willing to take it and accept it and grow, because that's the only way we get better. And that's why I asked my friend, who I knew wasn't going to be soft on me, because I needed to hear some things that I couldn't convince myself of by myself. Part of me wanted to convince myself that it's good the way it is, or it's good enough, or I should just move on, or worse yet, I'm no good, I can't do this, why bother? And the line that my friend said, he said, Sam, you're probably doing exactly what you need to be doing right now. However, the truth is these things are off, and you need to work on it. Maybe take some lessons. Ouch, right? Ouch. No musician wants to hear, like, you probably need to take some lessons. But I have gotten some good tips, which I think are going to move me in the right direction, and I'm excited to see see what I can come up with going forward. So anyway, if you do have a chance to listen to, if you can still find it on Spotify, it's called And Then Wonder. It's going to go away, but it's there for like a day or so. You can go and listen to it if you want to, as is, and feel free to critique it as much as you want. You can just put those comments in this video and tell me like, yeah, I totally hear where you're going with it, or say like, no, you're full of junk. I mean, I don't mind that if you actually think it's good the way it is. I'd like to know that too. This is a journey. So anyway, love you guys, and please like and subscribe. I'm not putting out a lot of content yet, but I am working on trying to make what I can as good as I can, and that's all I can do. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.